Exploring the latest trends, topics, and things you need to know in travel, it's Can We Talk Travel with destinationwhatever.com. Helayne, are you excited to talk about the Galapagos this evening?
I'm very
We
excited.
can just like set the stage that Helayne and I are two travel agents and we traveled down to the Galapagos. When was that, Helayne? October.
That was October.
Yeah, so 3 months ago, thereabouts, we were down in the Galapagos, and it was my first time. But Helayne, you've been there before.
I was there pre-COVID, so it was 2018. All by myself. That was one of my solo trips, and it was fantastic, but it seemed it was so quick. And even this trip, the second time, my eyes were just so wide open with awe with all the different experiences on this trip.
Absolutely. For me, it was my second time in South America, and both of my trips to South America have been to nature hotspots. My first time being to the Amazon, and then my second trip being down here, down to the Galapagos. And so for me, I just loved it so much. So let's get going with tonight's presentation. And again, for anybody who's just filled in since the last time I said welcome, once again, welcome. Awesome. So today we are going to be discovering the Galapagos with Travel HX. That's the company we went with. You might have heard of them before as Herder Expeditions. They recently, well, it's not been that recently now, it's been a little bit of a while, have had a rebranding. So Travel HX. And we were on their ship called the MV Santa Cruz 2, and that's pictured here in the background, of course. And yeah, and like Helayne and I were saying at the beginning, we were down there in October 2024. So, in case you need a little reminder who I am, my name is Dave Wentworth, and so I've been a travel agent for 15 years, and I run my own agency, and my agency is called Destination Whatever, and you can find me online at destinationwhatever.com. And I've been to 41 countries. Ecuador was number 41. And I kind of got into travel because my background, it's a bit more on the academic side. I had studied international development at Dalhousie University, and I was really interested at that time looking at countries that were opening up for tourism. There was a lot more of people going to parts of the world that typically hadn't had tourism or were developing tourism. And I was really interested in looking at how tourism can support local economies, how it can promote culture authentically. So when I was done studying, I ended up getting a career in travel because I just had this love of the world and this thirst for all the cultures and places around the planet and wanting to experience that, but also to share the experience and guide people towards that. Well, anyway, enough about me. I speak a few languages, as I'm sure you've read there. And my next trip next month, I'm off to Tahiti and the Marquesas Islands. All right, let's go to our next presenter. Helayne, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Helayne Hauw, and that's me at Iguazu Falls between Brazil and Argentina last March on another fabulous adventure. As you can imagine, my passion is travel. This is my second career after finishing 35 years as a safety and health inspector, as well as a labor standards inspector with the federal government. I have traveled quite a bit, over 50 countries, but surprisingly, I just went to Paris last month. That was my first visit to Paris. I do like adventure travel. I love meeting local people, savoring foods in each country. And I just want to thank Dave for inviting me to co-host with you. We're both independent owners of our own travel business under our host agency, Travel Nexion. That's the logo that I carry around with me with the ball, because I do have a ball when I'm traveling. But I love how Dave and I can collaborate. We can build on each other's strengths and work together on on projects that we're passionate about. So thank you, Dave, for getting me out of my comfort zone and getting me into the technical world.
Of course, my dear, of course. And fate happens and things happen for a reason. And it's worth pointing out to our audience today that, both you and I, we really love Travel HX. We love what it stands for. We love the brand. We love the style of travel. I'm going to let people know that we have. Both been on this ship, but you've been on with Travel HX before. You went down to Antarctica, so you've been to all seven continents. And it was just, luck of the draw that we both happened to go on an educational trip to the same destination at the same sailing. Like, what odds of that happening?
It
So,
was amazing. It was great that found out that you were going. I went with my husband, Tom, but to have Dave there as well, it was, a bonus to have you on and to teach me a few things about marketing and travel.
totally. Well, it's what I do. Now, let's show the people what we did on this next slide here. You like my watercolors in the background? It sets the stage for an aquatic experience. So, everybody, Helayne had more time available to her. So she did both the pink and the yellow routing, which is this whole itinerary with Travel HX is called Nine of the Best Isles, the western and northern route. So it's an 11-day itinerary, which includes some time in Quito. Helayne and I both had experiences in Quito because my trip included that as well, but I just did the shorter version or the second half, part B, whatever you want to call it. And we could talk to you another time about our time in Quito because just simply to say with HX, they take care of everything. Wonderful experiences there going to the equator in Quito. But then also, as you can see on our map, the equator, it runs right through the Galapagos Islands. So yeah, Helayne, you got to quite a few of the islands. Was there a reason why you chose this itinerary?
Well, I had gone to a couple of the other islands on my other trip, and I wanted to see some more of Galapagos because each island is different. They have different animals, wildlife. And so I wanted to, and like you said, I do have the time. So we wanted to spend as much time as we can in the Galapagos. And yes, I got a certificate for having crossed the equator on the ship 4 times.
Good Lord. But honestly, look at your itinerary. I mean, that's exactly what you did. I have a special story to share with our audience about the equator, but that's coming up a little bit later in the presentation. I would say to people that I would have absolutely been doing the exact same itinerary as Helayne. If I had the available time, I would have gone all the way with the destination. This is just one of those places that you can't get enough of. I mean, I'm glad I got to go for as long as I did, but I definitely would have loved to have done more. So maybe I'll have to go back down to the Galapagos. And you might be able to see, folks, there's an airplane here, and that's because you fly in and out of the airport on Baltra, which is a really cool airport if you're an aviation geek like myself, because it's the world's first ecological airport. So it operates in a very sustainable way, which is, of course, a perfect fit for the whole theme and vibe of the Galapagos Islands. And part of when you travel with HX is that the flights are included from the mainland. So all you need to do is get down to South America. So, in fact, I'm going to talk next about our nuts and bolts. Helayne has a bit coming up here in a moment, so I'll let her grab her glass of water. And I'm going to talk to you about just the geography and how you're going to get down there if you want it to go on a trip like this yourself. So, you can look at this map of South America. You can see I've circled the Galapagos, and you can see the icon out there is the tortoise, which is perhaps the most iconic, the most famous animal out there. The Galapagos, it's going to be about 965 kilometers, and we have some US folks, so 600 miles off the coast of South America. And as I was saying, the flight is included from Quito, and flights from Quito go down to Guayaquil first, which is Ecuador's second city, and then from Guayaquil they fly out to Baltra Island. So in total, from Quito, it's going to be about 3 hours. And the flights are going out are early in the morning. So you can expect an early morning breakfast that day that you leave Quito and go to the Galapagos. And I am not an early morning person, but this day I was because I was so excited to go to the Galapagos. Of course, Helayne was already out there on the ship. And then coming back, the flights are really well timed with your disembarkation. So you'll leave the Galapagos right around midday, and you're going to get back to Ecuador, back to Quito, right around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And the Galapagos are an hour time difference from the mainland as well. And there is a biological screening at the airport. So I just wanted to talk to you about that because I was really impressed with HX in this regard. They take us to the Quito airport and on the way gave us all the information about just going through this extra screening. It really wasn't anything major, but they're just looking to make sure you're not bringing any biological stuff that you shouldn't. So, like open food, seeds, plants, organic materials, things like that would not be allowed. If you have a chocolate bar, if you have a package of gum, if you have prepared food, things like that, you can bring those to the Galapagos. But of course, homemade granola, it might not be the right time for those sorts of things. And for our Canadian listeners tonight, just to get into Ecuador in general, really easy. You don't need a tourism visa. Right now, the policy is that you get 90 days for a period per annual period. And I think it's very similar for US passport holders. So folks should double check that. But again, Ecuador, really easy country to get into. And as well, when you're headed out to the Galapagos Islands, you will get this entry card, and that's also taken care of for you. So, I mean, this trip was really convenient. I will say, from the point of view as a professional, I'm busy, I'm working. When I set up a trip for myself, I just want to be able to book that holiday and get down there and just simply have things taken care of. And everything was taken care of. And so this has my entry, my exit, and the rules to going into the Galapagos. And so you present that when you get out to Baltra Island. And another thing, just to kind of point out, best time of year for going to the Galapagos. Basically, you want those great sunsets. You want the best time of the year. You can see it can be any time of the year. There are some highlights throughout the year if you have certain things in mind. But I would really say the Galapagos, it's a year-round destination. I also think it's a great destination if you are, um, you know, in a winter climate. Right now, it's really cold where I live, and I know it's cold where a lot of you live. It's January, so when snow blankets the ground, it's a great time to be thinking about going to a warmer spot on the equator. All right, Helayne, what does this sign mean? You took this picture.
Yes, and this was just outside the dining room, which we were in all the time. I mean, we both found our inspiration in these islands in different ways. Because I think we're going to show you that and about how we discovered different things about the islands and about ourselves.
Totally. And of course, Charles Darwin, he's the man. He's the man. Now we got a
Yes,
typical
he's
day here. What's that all about, Helayne? Do you want to take
well,
it clear?
as you mentioned, I'm not a morning person except when I am on vacation. I don't want to miss anything. So that first day, we are awake at our wake up call was 3 a.m. in Quito, so we can make that early morning flight. So by the time you get to the airport, take the flight, there are snacks on the flight. And then by the time you get on the ship and have your lunch, I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna have a nap in the afternoon and just like chill out and relax.
Wrong.
No, we are scheduled for two activities in the afternoon, one of which is a wet landing. And just to explain that, you're not completely totally wet, but you are jumping in maybe a foot of water. And some people, if you don't time your getting out of the zodiac properly, then you might actually get a little bit wetter. And then we're hiking and we're exploring and we're discovering all these animals. And this is just the first day. And I've been up like 12 hours already. Um, but yes, this is a typical day. So we do have our breakfast, then we have a morning activity. We come back on board. In the afternoon, we'll have one or two activities. In the evening, we have a cocktail hour, which Dave will talk about, followed by dinner, and I'll talk about the meals. And then the remainder of the evening is at our leisure. But really, the boat is pretty much asleep, everyone, by about 9 p.m. because you have to wake up early the next morning for the next adventure.
Totally. I mean, my battery was drained every day, but yet my heart was full, my soul was full, all of that.
Yes,
Well,
definitely. Yeah.
it's our
Just a
home.
little bit more about the ship. It carries about 90 guests, and at our sailing, we had about 38. So it was a very intimate sailing. We really got to know each other. The other guests, I still keep in touch with a lot of the people that were on our ship. Yes, there's a hot tub, which was really nice after the snorkeling or swim sessions. The water in October wasn't extremely warm. We had wetsuits for our snorkeling. So we weren't, freezing cold like in Antarctica, but it was 70 degrees. So it wasn't overly too warm. So you'll see there's a deck on the left side. Again, we had some cocktail hours out there. Nice to relax afterwards, after a full day of activity with other guests. And there's Dave and I on a Zodiac on our way out to another adventure ashore. So the ship does not dock at a port or anything. You're always on these Zodiacs, and they're not rough at all. It's pretty smooth sailing. Even on the Santa Cruz, when you're sailing around the islands, you're in the archipelago, so you're not really on open water. You're not going to get seasick, although there are seasick pills available on board if you need them.
Totally, totally. Let's take another look at the ship here from, whoops, from this point of view here. The back end of it. This is where we get in and off of the zodiacs, or sometimes you might hear us refer to them as pangas as well. That was a word that we heard on the ship. They'd say,
Right.
let's get in the pangas. But yeah, so what do we have here in the ship? Look at that. We got the Beagle Restaurant. We got the Panorama Bar and Lounge, which we have the Sky Deck, we have the Science Center, and we have a library, and we have, this is a learning experience. You're learning all the time. I mean, not only are you just out there doing things, you're constantly just taking in knowledge and sights from what's around you. The boutique and a reception area. I know, Helayne, you shopped there. What did you get?
Yes. I did get a lovely, actually, a few lovely shirts that I thought were very unique to Galapagos that showed off the turtles, the penguins, and the frigate bird. So I thought they were very nice and brought some home for as gifts.
Perfect. Well, forget we got some more things to get to, so I'll just move it right along and just say that there is a guest laundry as well, which was really helpful. So if you are going on this trip, just
Yes.
keep in mind when you're packing, if you
Yes.
want to do a load or two, they have that available with the soap and everything. So it's super easy to use that. There's a medical bay. If you need anything, they're adequately equipped for any situation that is within the scope of what they can do on an expedition ship. But that's quite impressive. And there's fitness rooms if you still have energy to burn, and there's two hot tubs. This is a very interesting ship in that it was just recently refurbished in 2021. It travels at an average speed of 10 and a half knots or 20 kilometers an hour for you land lovers. Its length, it's 70, it's just under 72 meters, and its beam or its width across, it's about 13 and a half meters. Whenever I saw it in the pictures before going, I always thought, oh, it looks big, and then you get out there, and it truly is. It's a small ship, and like Helayne said, it's just such an intimate setting. Here's what the decks just very quickly. The lower deck is where you'll find the restaurant. Then on the main deck, we have some cabins. Those continue on the second deck, where there's also the discovery room, the science corner, the library. And then on the next deck, you have three Darwin suites. If you want something really special, there's some Darwin the suites that are just next level. There's also the panorama bar where we could enjoy drinks and debriefings for the next day, and the observation deck. And then lastly, there's an observation deck or sun deck and fitness room located at the very tip top. Wow, I'm going
Oh,
to,
Dave, can I
yes,
just go back to a couple of slides where just right the next one.
okay,
Oh, sorry. The first deck picked the observ yeah, this one. Just wanted to show you our room was 103 at the bottom, and all the cabins are outside with a window, so there's no balconies. Everybody is basically the same. And what made this a perfect deck for me, it was close to the shop as well as the medical center. And I just want to talk briefly about the medical team and how impressed I was. The doctor, there is a doctor on board. He's available 24/7. He has his own practice in the island, but for a few times of the year, he'll come on board and be the doctor on board. Um, I I have had some medical issues, so that was a big comfort for me to have medical on board. And I actually needed them on a particular situation I had on the almost the last day. I did fall on some volcanic rocks and fell quite hard. And they radioed the doctor who was on the big ship to come to the island on a Zodiac. We were on the other side of the island, and I swear it didn't take very long because by the time the guides performed some emergency first aid, the doctor was there. And then right behind him came eight crewmen with a stretcher. So they were prepared to carry me out if I needed to. They didn't know the extent of my injuries. So I was very impressed with the emergency response team. They were very efficient, very professional. So I like adventure, but I also like to know that there is a safety net, some protection while I'm out there, because you are in the middle of nowhere, really, in these islands. There's a hospital at Santa Cruz in the island. And again, I did see the hospital as we passed by. But it's small. It's an island. It's on an island. So again, I just wanted to mention the medical team.
perfect. All right, let's go ahead if we can and just kind of talk about the cabins. We were right up to about here,
Oh,
and
okay.
I think these are pictures from your cabin. So,
No,
you
they're
take pictures?
actually pictures of my friends in their Darwin suites. So
Oh,
there's one side which is the bed, and then the other side was a sitting area. I all the bathrooms, all the toilets had this sign that said Royal Flush, which I loved. So no, this was not my room, but I got to see it.
okay, but it is worth noting that for anybody looking to go, you're going to have your own cabin. It's going to have your own shower. They have some great toiletries there, so if you don't pack those, they'll have some that you can use. Also, for people that are looking for a hair dryer, they have that available. There's two sets of towels in the cabin, one for your showering and then one for your when you're coming in and you have sandier, you need to get the beach off of you. So everything's really just well equipped and taken care of for you there. I wanted to move next to talk about the all-inclusive because this is a new feature, and when Helayne and I went, it was just being rolled out. And so, if you go with Travel HX now, you can enjoy this all-inclusive benefit. So your drinks are available, is just part of the inclusion package. And if you don't want an alcoholic drink, there was a really great list of mocktails available. Or if you like to enjoy, I don't know, a pop or things like that with lunch, that's all available. So this is up on the in the evenings we would get debriefed for what was coming ahead the next day, and I love an Aperol spritz. That's my favorite. Helayne, what was your favorite drink that you had when you were on the ship? Anything that stood out?
Well, I'm a non-alcoholic drinker. So I asked for my virgin pina coladas, which I had practically every day.
Well, it's tropical. You need to when you're down here. Whoops. All right, now let's keep talking about food here. You took these food pictures. Um, So much good food. I can't even
So,
tell you
so
what the
much.
top dish was. I just was stuffed every day. How about you?
Oh, there was so much choice. At breakfast, they would ask what you wanted for dinner, although you weren't stuck with that choice. You could have more than one entree if you wanted. Um, and there was just so much food. And even the cocktail hour, we had sushi. Just they had
Empanadas one
sausages
night.
one night.
So
Just
many
a
different
lot of food.
things. Outdoor
Yeah,
grill one night, which was just so much
right.
succulent food. I'm vegetarian. I was well accommodated. There was someone at my table who needed gluten-free accommodation. This person was really well taken care of. In fact, we both said, compared to other experiences, we're so stuffed here. Lunch and breakfast are buffet in nature. And then,
Mm,
like Helayne was saying, the dinner, it's a la carte. They'll take your
right.
selection earlier in the day. And yeah, perfect. This was one of my most special moments. If we're going to talk about the ship, was the open bridge policy. And so I'll start by just telling people that with this ship, there is an open bridge policy. And so you can't just barge in, but if you ask, and quite often it's possible to do it right in the moment, you can go into the bridge, which is the nerve center of a ship, and you can see the technology and the operations and the crew as well in the ship. This was just really cool. What did you think of it, Helayne?
Well, I was just thinking that the captain, I think, was having a nap because we were docked, and I'm not sure if they knew what they were getting into when they let us into the bridge because we had so much fun.
We were
Just
like kids in a candy store.
it's like, what does this button do? No, don't touch that.
And then I went back up to the bridge a second time when we were crossing the equator, which was at nighttime. And I remember it was interesting just because I had told that it was during dinner time, and I had mentioned, I was like, I want to make sure I'm in that bridge to see the digital instruments
Oh,
zero
cool.
out when we go across the equator. I'm such a geography nerd. And they made a point of telling me, like, they were like, oh, it's going to happen in about 5 or 6 minutes. And so I just took a break from my dinner and zipped up to the bridge, and they were expecting me, and I got to get my moment. So again, all these special moments happen when you're on a small, intimate ship like this. So, we say talk about the Galapagos Islands, think about the world differently. Helayne, what were some of your destination highlights?
Well, I mentioned this trip had more islands, 9 of them, and there's a list of the big 15 for Galapagos that I wanted to see the animals on this big 15. And some of them are only on certain islands. Last time I saw the blue-footed boobies, but I know there's red-footed ones, and I saw one fleetingly the last time. And of course, the snorkeling and underwater activities, I was looking
Oh,
forward to that.
perfect. Well, I was going to say, let's just go ahead and
Oh,
take a look here. Here's a list of the
yes.
big 15 for anybody who's curious what animals are on the list. So, I mean, I didn't get to all of the big 15, but Helayne, did you get to all 15?
Yeah, so the only one I didn't see is the Santa Fe land iguana, number 6. But the others, and only because it's on Santa Fe. That's the only island that you'll find it. The others I was able to see all in this trip,
Perfect.
which is amazing. Like I've been on safari in Africa and they only have the big five.
Right. It's like three times triple the bang.
Yes.
So let's take a look at some of your animal moments because of course everybody here tonight they're here because the Galapagos is known for animals. So take us through some of these
Right.
pictures.
Well, I did want to say at the beginning that all the pictures are ours, our own. It's not from a catalog or anything. So on the first day, in the first half hour of our Zodiac outing, we were told that we could see orcas. And I'm like, orcas? Like, no, like they're not usually in the Galapagos. It's not even on the list. But sure enough, our guide, Jocelyn, is like the orca whisperer. So she was able to determine where they would surface, and we kind of chased them so that we're ahead of them. And then when they surfaced, it was right next to the boat. I mean, I gave Tom my camera, which is a point and shoot, and then I had my longer lens camera because I thought they would be farther away. Well, he got some of the better pictures on that outing because I said, just keep clicking. Like, it doesn't matter if it's, focus, whatever. So you can see part of his fingers in the one picture, and then he got one of me taking a picture of the orca and the ship. So we weren't very far from the ship. And you know how exciting it is because the leader of the guide, the expedition guides, actually ordered a Zodiac down from the roof of the ship so that he could go out to see the orca.
Wow.
Oh, actually, there was three of them, so it wasn't just one orca. So that was the first day, the first half hour of our outing to see other animals, but we came across this. So that was a nice surprise. And then the red-footed buoy, you can see how red, how vibrant. I have not touched up these pictures. And then what surprised me is the beak and the head, the colors around the eyes and the chin. It was just so bright. And they allow us to get so close without flying away. Like this
That's
was not
great.
a Zoom or anything. It was just, I was there.
Totally. We get some more pictures that show how close you are. Tell us about these.
Yes, the iguanas, they were so they're everywhere. There's no predators for them. So they just multiply. And the interesting thing about them was the marine iguanas are in the water and they're breathing in the salt water. So to expel it, they kind of just like snort it out. And so when you're walking amongst them, you just hear this noise, and then you see the spit coming out, and you're trying to not get in the way because I wasn't sure like is it acidic or what? But
Right.
um,
Venomous, perhaps? Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah. Like, is it dangerous? Anyway, and then the other picture I really liked was this is a picture of Sabine, who's from Germany, that I met on the ship. But she was just sitting there, and then the sea lion comes up to her because we're not supposed to get too close to them. So she's just sitting on the rock. She's taking some pictures, and then after a while, it looked like she was training the sea lion to do these tricks, like, oh, okay, go on this log. So it was really cool to see it.
I love that. Put a red ball on your nose. Yeah. Now you, of course, let's talk about the underwater moments as
Yes.
well.
So I'm not a deep snorkeler. I usually just go on the surface. So it's not like something that I'm diving deep. So for people that aren't, really comfortable snorkeling, this is the place to try it out because the water is very smooth. You can see, forever underneath, and you don't have to go too far deep. So this sea lion on the left was just playing with us for about 20 minutes. And again, you can see Tom's fingers, and that's how close he was. He was just swimming around us through our legs. And at one point, even nudged Tom because Tom's attention was drawn to some other thing in the water. And he's like tapping him on the shoulder to say, hey, look at me.
Like a
So that
playful
was kind of
puppy.
cool. Yeah, and then the underwater is just so colorful. Now, the pictures at the bottom were the guide taking the pictures with someone else's GoPro. So they were there. These aren't my pictures, but they were so bright, and I could see them. Just like I said, you had to dive a little bit, about 10 feet to see them that close.
Mm. And well, I get this picture in here as well because
Oh,
I love this one of you.
yeah, no, this is our guide, Jocelyn, and she has that GoPro. But then, like I said, the sea lion decides to be her assistant to work with her alongside her and to show off his home.
Got it. I love it. And just to point out as well for people going that like the a lot of the gear that you'll need for your activities, it's all taken care of. It's there. It's waiting for you on the Santa Cruz. You just have to show up. Hey, I'm going to tell the people about my animal highlights and let you catch a breath and grab a sip of water. These
No,
are
these are great pictures.
Well, thank you, my dear. How can you not take a good picture in the Galapagos? And I think about the
Oh,
first picture on the left, and you probably had this moment too. Our guides were trying to move us along because they have so long to complete if you're doing a couple kilometer walk. And we would just want to stop, especially the first day, because we're newbies and we're just so entranced and like, OMG. And they're like, come on, guys, move. Because there was just such an abundance of nature. So we'd see this one incredible thing only to go around the next corner and then see something else that was just amazing and again and again and again. And so it's nature in overdrive when you're on the Galapagos Islands. And I wanted to include a picture of the Sally Lightfoot crabs because I think they were one of my favorites, and they get sometimes forgotten about in the mix of all the different animals. But there's just so many of these little red crabs, and they're just dancing and moving around, and on the black rocks, they really pop out. And to me, all the time that I was down there, the animals, it was movement. That was the theme. When I'm traveling, I like to take little videos. I like to edit my videos on YouTube, and so I'm looking for something that it will be fun when I sit down to do the video editing, and just the animals behaving like animals and constantly just being moving around, and it was like they didn't even know we were there, or they could care less that we were there. They were just going about their life like they always have been. That's what I thought, at least when I was down there with the animals. Just amazing. I could have watched them all day long. And this was a picture. It was from another one of our people that we traveled with, Sherry. Sherry does some great photography. She's from the Phoenix area. Hey, Sherry, if you're out there watching today. And the picture, I didn't even know she had taken this till she sent it afterwards. But just the look on my face, it's like, what the
yeah.
fuck? But literally the birds, the animals, they just come up so closely. In terms of talking about things, because my highlights were all the learning, and just a trip with Travel HX is going to be an opportunity to learn. I learned a lot about geology. I wasn't even that interested or aware in geology. And then the first day we got to Galapagos, my first day waking up on Santa Cruz, we were parked in this harbor where there was all these impressive rock formations around us. And then we went out in the pangas. They were taking us up close and personal, and just explaining about how the islands are of volcanic origin, and you can see the layering as they were built up over time. And I mean, the landscape of the Galapagos, it reminds me of a Dali painting. It's otherworldly. It's just like something from another planet. And Helayne, I don't know if this was a picture that you contributed, if you took this of me and my panga, or if it was from my panga over to your panga, but it just shows our audience how close they would get to these rocks and how precise they could drive those pangas around. So that was pretty cool. We had one day in the Panga where my ball cap flew off and landed in the water. And of course, the whole thing out there is a protected marine area. So of course they had to zip around and pick my hat up out of the water. But they were just like right on it, like just great precision driving those Pangas around. And talking about being on the ocean, the last thing I just would highlight in terms of like learning was just learning about the marine environment, learning about penguins and how they come up to this part of the southern hemisphere, just to the very bit up by the equator, but not past it. And just the animal behavior and how the guides could just talk to us with so much knowledge. I mean, this is their profession, this is their passion, and we were there to soak it up. I
Yeah.
took a picture
Oh,
in German.
let me just mention that the guides that are in the Galapagos must be born in in the Galapagos, and
Oh,
they are
really?
actually wardens of the park. So if they see anything, they have a duty to report, people that aren't supposed to be there, because obviously we are allowed a certain time to land, and other ships have another time. So you can tell if somebody's not supposed to be on an island. So you
Totally,
can't just, take your own boat and go camping or something.
totally.
So yes, that was interesting that they have to be born in the Galapagos.
Totally. Thank you for sharing that. Now, we have a moment coming up here that we shared together, and it was in the schedule. And again, this gives people an idea of how busy it is. Again, you might probably don't speak German, but you might be able to understand that at 7 o'clock, we've got breakfast. At 8 o'clock, you got a choice between wandering or walking and going out in the pangas, a panga fart. And then at 8 o'clock, you could also go on a photography walk, which Elaine and I did. We'll show you some pictures of that. And then at 11:15, it's an equator overcrossing ceremony and baptism, an aqua toba Quierungsfeier. I hope I said that right. And yeah, and then of course a lecture before lunch at 12:15. So I mean that's just the first half of a day. Busy, busy, busy. Yeah, so we learned about photography. We went out, and one thing we haven't talked about is that the ship has an onboard photographer. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was really good to learn from, and it's like, okay, I'm just standing next to you. And then after a while I'm thinking, well, why am I taking pictures? Because some of his are going to be very professional looking. And he took some underwater videos that were amazing. And this is all shared after the trip, with all the guests, and you get it's included in the price again. You get your videos and the pictures from the trip.
One thing I liked about it was that I do take my pictures with my iPhone. You can see that picture on the left is my phone. And, some people on the photography tour, they had the big cameras, the big gear. And our photography walk and the photographer were able to include things for all camera users. And so whether you're amateur or you have more chops and some skills, there's something for everybody on the photo walk. We all get to learn together. That's really cool. And then we had some unique moments. I thought we could tell our people about unique moments that we had only in the Galapagos. So, Helene, for you, you mentioned a place where messages travel without stamps, without Wi-Fi or a cellular signal, and they're carried across the globe by kindness and chance. So that sounds pretty interesting. And for me, it was about embracing something I didn't know that I had within myself. But before we tell the people about that, what's going on in this picture of the left? There's a picture of you and me here at a special moment. Do you want to tell our folks what that's all about?
Well, there was an onboard uh, auction to win certain prizes and to donate towards the HX Foundation. And Dave and I were competing with each other to get this HX signed flag off the ship. And Dave won the auction.
I had to
So
have it,
he's got
darling. I had to have it. I had to have
so
it.
he's got it, but he promises that he can share it with me if I
That's
need it.
right. That's right. On the loaner program. All right. Well, we have a few more slides to get to tonight. So this was your special moment that we were alluding to, or I was alluding to a moment ago. Tell us about this.
Yes, I thought this was quite interesting. I was looking forward to it during the itinerary. We're at Post Office Bay on the island of Floriana, and they have this barrel, which is on the left with the kind of a hut-looking thing. But it started, I don't know, probably like 100 years ago, where sailors while they're sailing through the Galapagos would come and drop off letters for their families. And then, in the hopes that other sailors who are going to those places would pick up the cards, letters, and then bring them to their families, thousands of miles away.
Hmm.
So now the tradition has continued. So whatever cruise ship you're on, they will drop off cards. And the next ship that comes by, we went through like all the passengers went by, and everybody shouting, "Oh, do you know somebody in Philadelphia? What about Germany?" And then or Canada. Oh, well, okay, Vancouver's not exactly near Toronto, so no, I can't pick that up. Um, so there was just a lot of yelling and oh yeah, I'll take that postcard and I'll deliver it. So the idea is to deliver it in person. So I had one card that was near my cottage in Port Elgin. So you can see on the right picture, the left where I'm showing the actual card with the sea lion that I delivered to this couple in Port Elgin. It turned out she was the one that mailed it and left it in the post box and sent it to her husband, who didn't go to Galapagos. So there was one delivery that I made in person, and then there were two others recently while I was in Alaska that I delivered in person as well. So it was just a fun way to connect to other adventurers, other people who have a passion for adventure travel, who didn't think they would actually see their postcard when they put it in the barrel. But I came along and I delivered it. So, and it was a nice surprise. That was another highlight of the Galapagos.
Cool, cool. So for me, I live next to the water. I live on an island, and yet I haven't not had a chance in my life to do things like kayaking on the water or stand-up paddleboarding. And I always thought those things would be really cool. And so I wasn't even planning to do it, but then when I got out there on the very first day, they were saying, "Hey, tomorrow the activities will include X, Y, and Z." And one of the possibilities included stand-up paddleboarding. So I thought, "Oh my God, I'm here. I have this opportunity. I can do stand-up paddleboarding for the first time in a place as magnificent as the Galapagos Islands." And so I did it, and I got to go out on the stand-up paddleboard twice. I'll admit I had a hard time standing up. It was a little bit choppy. It wasn't the flat water you see in the magazines, but it was just, I felt safe. I felt taken care of. The guides were there. And it was just a wonderful opportunity to try something new. And same with sea kayaking. I also did some sea kayaking, as you can see in the picture in picture.
Did you see sharks in your?
Oh, don't tell me there were sharks there, honey. I was already pushing my limits enough. But that was part of it for me. I'd always thought, oh, what's in the water? If you can't see the bottom, don't get in the water. But no, when I was out on that ship, an energy just came over me, the magic of the islands and the experience of being on the Santa Cruz, and I just wanted to push myself to the next level and do things. I didn't want to have
Yes,
any
great.
regrets when I came home. I didn't want to think, oh, I should have did that stand-up paddleboarding. I was gonna do that stand-up paddleboarding.
No, it was great. I saw you standing up once.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. And I slipped and I fell in the water and I got right back up on it again
Yeah.
and did my thing. But anyway, look, I just want to wind up by just saying, acknowledge the people that we got to share the experience with. And so also not only did we get to travel together, which was super cool, I got to travel with my friend, and I wanted to show this because people might be wondering, well, who travels to the Galapagos? I think it's a destination that's for everybody. I think it's for all generations. And so I went down there with my friend. We're travel bros, and this was one of the best trips. And Helayne, who did you get to go down there with?
I went with my wonderful husband. We're going to celebrate our 40th anniversary, and we've had lots of adventures together. And it was amazing to share a lot of the experiences on this with him. That was our okay, we're okay in the water sign after the sea lions came up to visit with us and play with us.
I love it. I love it. I love the neon as well that you two are wearing. It was just such a great trip. Awesome. So, look, folks, if you've enjoyed tonight's presentation, but maybe we haven't touched on something, or maybe you're watching this afterwards on YouTube and you have some questions, or maybe if you want to book the trip of a lifetime, because you know Helayne and I are both travel agents that can help you with whatever you need to, for the Galapagos Islands or Travel HX. In addition to the trip that we went on, there are some wonderful add-ons. If you have the time and interest, you can stay on the islands and perhaps visit the Finch Bay Resort, or with Travel HX, there's some great pre and posts if you want to see the Amazon in Ecuador. So anyway, Helayne and I,
Yeah.
we really love talking about travel, in case you can't already tell. And we're here to help you. And so if you'd like to get in touch, this is our contact information. I'm Dave Wentworth, and you can reach me by emailing info@destinationwhatever.com. And you can also explore my website, destinationwhatever.com. You can book a Zoom with me, find out other videos, all sorts of things. And Helayne, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, that's my email. I'm not so fancy as having my own website, but you can email me. And I should just mention that the shirt I'm wearing in the picture is one that I bought on board with the turtles. I just love the design of it. It's very unique.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much, Helayne, for your time and contributing your photos and just everything and being here tonight. Did you have any final things that you wanted to say to our audience?
I just want to thank you, Dave, for this opportunity and making me go past my comfort zone in doing a Zoom presentation. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, again, the pleasure's all mine. Maybe we'll have to go on another trip again sometime and then
Oh,
do another
for
one of
sure.
these. Yeah, totally.
Definitely not our last.
Totally, totally. All right, everybody. Well, that concludes tonight's presentation. I hope to see you again at the next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay well, and here's to adventure. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. This has been a Destination Whatever travel production. Subscribe for all my content. Facebook at Destination Whatever, Instagram at destinationwhatever.travel, and YouTube at Destination Whatever. Or head on over to my website, destinationwhatever.com. I'm your #1 travel expert, helping travelers nationwide explore the world. So get in touch and let's make your travel fantasies come true.